Hey guys, you're back with Steph and Dennis, and today it's just me, Steph, here for this video because I have a more personal and specific to me video to share with you all today. So today, when you're watching this video, it's June 1st, which means we're 2 days away from my 25th birthday. I've always been that person that loves birthdays. I love my own birthday. I love my friends and family's birthdays even more than they do. You can ask Den personally. I always make him do above and beyond celebrations, but it's just, an excuse to be even happier than usual and do all of your favorite things, which I love. It is interesting though, because as I've started to get older, I still love birthdays, but the aging process starts to creep into my mind too. And I do not mean aging like visually aging. I know 25 is still young, especially in the looks department, but just the societal pressures and thoughts that comes into your mind as you start to get older and older, especially now that I'm officially cemented into my mid-20s. I also really like the quote, or just the thought, that you're always the oldest that you've ever been, right? So even when people look at you and say, oh, come on, you're not that old, you're young, in perspective, you're the oldest you've ever been. You don't know how it feels to be any older. So, that's a process in my mind as well, always too. And as you age, like I mentioned, I do feel like the pressures start to grow, especially in your 20s, which is probably the most expectations are on you in this decade in particular. The kind of the steps are laid out for you in just traditional society, right? Whether it's going to school, graduating from school, getting a good career job, starting to excel and get promoted in that job. Maybe it's buying a house, saving a lot of money, saving a set amount of money, hint at what we're talking about later. It could be on the relationship side, getting in a long-term relationship, getting married, all of that stuff. Or on the flip side, you also have people coming at you from the opposite perspective, right? Saying things like, I don't know, you are still young. Why are you putting all that pressure on yourself? Live it up while you're young. Like, make sure you're having fun. So I want to talk about that for me specifically a little bit today, but also, of course, the title of this video. I'm also going to talk about how I've saved $50,000 by this age 25, and we'll dive into what that means, why, everything like that too in this video. So if you're excited for a more casual, personal chat video today, show me some love down below. Let me know by liking this video, and let's jump into it. So in university, I did get jobs every summer. I worked a few times throughout the school year as well, and I always put some of that money back towards my degree, but the bulk of my university education was paid for by my parents. And I don't want to gloss over that point, because I think that that's something that's really important to talk about when you talk about how much money you've saved specifically by a certain age. Obviously, in my scenario at least, it wouldn't be possible to have $50,000 saved up right now, which I'll get into more about in a second, but that wouldn't be possible without my parents paying the bulk of my education. So again, not something to gloss over. That's a huge piece to the story as well. So given that, when I graduated university, I had no student loan debt or any debt in general, which is amazing. On the other hand, I didn't have much in my savings either. As much as it was important to save, I did put all the money I saved throughout the year towards my education, whatever I could. So on that note, I only had a few $1,000s left in my bank account when I did graduate. So basically, I graduate university, no debt, that's great, a few $1,000s in my savings. Jen and I promptly went to New York City as soon as we graduated together, which is super fun, but I basically spent my money on that. Not all the thousands, but a few hundred. And then after that, we also moved across the province. We moved from where we went to school in Ottawa over to Toronto. We got set up with an apartment here. And again, if you haven't seen our past budgeting videos, we talk a lot about the price of that, but I personally pay $925 a month for our apartment in downtown Toronto. We also, just set up our adult lives, basically, all the stuff you need to spend money on as soon as you graduate and are now real adults. So basically, a few months after graduating, I had a job, so I was making money, but in my accounts, I was basically back at zero. So at this point in my money journey, I'm 22, living in downtown Toronto. I've got the job set up after school, which is great, so I have income coming in, basically $0 in the account, like a month after my 22nd birthday. And I do want to touch on, at the beginning of this video, I mentioned the societal pressures to get that big adult job after graduating. So for me, getting that education and getting the job is really important to me. I always had in my mind that saving money is important. And like I told you before, I used to feel guilty about my expenses, but for some reason you get into this stage of life, at least for me, and from what I gather, it's not that uncommon, that as soon as you do, get into this adulting phase of life, you kind of feel more of that impulse, whether it's consumerism and you're being influenced by others, or if it's just inside of you, that desire to spend, right? Like I thought I needed to buy new plants for our apartment, new home furnishings. It was also our first summer ever in Toronto together, so I wanted to do all of the Toronto activities and spend all this money on, I don't know, seeing things and doing things. And so all that being said, I definitely did do some saving. I did build up my emergency fund in my first few months living here and with a new job. I also didn't do anywhere near the amount of saving or prioritizing my saving and investing as I do right now. So post-grad, 22 years old, $0 in the bank account, started to build up an emergency fund, but I was still spending a lot of money every month. Still probably not too crazy, but a lot more money than I had to, and a lot of stuff on my wants and stuff that I didn't even think too hard about buying, right? Stuff that was a little bit more impulsive, especially in that first summer. Something that really did truly get me back on track was actually Den. He also obviously just graduated and was doing the adulting thing, moving to Toronto with me. We were doing all the same things, but he was really focused from the beginning on paying off his student loan debt. And what was great about that is he obviously spent money on his fixed expenses, and we did do the trip to New York together and got an apartment and things like that. But as soon as we were all settled, instead of spending the money on Toronto activities and hanging out and doing all this stuff, he went straight into paying off his debt mode. So his budget every month was fixed expenses and paying off that debt. And again, he was really hoping that he could start saving money, right? But he knew that was going to be a few years down the line. So that perspective really helped me switch from I have to save money into I get to save money mode. I think that's a huge thing you can do with your mindset around saving money is, again, instead of I have to, I need to do this, it's I get to. I get to save money for my future self instead, where I'm going to value that money more. So that was one of my first light switch moments a few months after graduating, where I started to actually get more into saving and growing my money more. So after this stage, I finally started creating a budget for the first time. I created a budget many times before, but for many things, short-term budgets for school, a budget for a trip, budgets for things like that, but not just a lifestyle budget, a lifelong budget, my overall budget for how to spend on a month-to-month basis. And this is what's really helped me stay on track, because for me, when I set a goal, I really do work towards hitting it. So when I set my monthly saving and investing goals, I am able to make sure I hit it every single month because of my budget. So we have a few different videos up on our channel right now about budgeting, but at the beginning of this year, I did one in particular that really reviewed all of my accounts and how much money I had in them and what my plan was for this year. So as of January 1st this year, I had about $42,000 in all of my accounts, savings, and investing. And now, about 5 months later, at June 1st, 2021, I now have about $52,000 across those accounts. So I've grown my saving and investing accounts to over $10,000 since the beginning of the year. And that's with me putting about $1,000 per month into my savings and about $1,350 per month into my 2 investing accounts. And now that's just at a high level, because I did also make one big purchase this year that actually took some money out of my savings accounts in order to make. So that's actually a little bit lower than it even would be if I didn't make this purchase, but it was worth it because, insert drumroll, editing done, editing done here. Because we spent that on a couch. So as you all know, that's a big purchase that we've been looking to make. We need to make. You guys have seen this beat up old couch. So that's something that we did buy this year. And I personally took the money out of my savings accounts for that, because again, it was a big purchase that, was worth dipping into the savings for, from my perspective. And I know I just said we bought a new couch, and obviously it's not this one right here. We clearly haven't gotten it yet. We ordered it back at the very beginning of March, and it was supposed to be ready to ship. It's been back ordered like 4 times, so we have no clue when it's coming, but whenever it does, you guys will be the first to know, and obviously we'll update you here on the channel. So we'll definitely talk about exactly how much the couch cost in a future video as soon as we do get it. But for now, it did set me back a little bit in my savings account. But I will go over exactly what each of my accounts is sitting at right now. So to pull out the numbers, at the beginning of the year, I had about $5,000 in my checking account. Right now I have $2,000 in there. Basically, I use it as a cash flow purpose, so money's always coming in and out, so that amount will change. My savings account had exactly $30,000, and now it's at $35,600-ish. My investing account had exactly $7,000 at the beginning of the year, and now it's at about $14,250, or at least that's what I've put into it. Obviously, it fluctuates on a day-to-day basis. So again, that's the rough breakdown of what is in each of my different accounts, but that adds up to about $52,000 compared to my $42,000 at the beginning of the year. So what I wanted to talk about next is just the concept of saving $50,000 or any sum of money. Because I think in general, there's obviously going to be different perspectives on what that means depending on who you are. So obviously some people are going to see this video, the title, and think, wow, $50,000 at age 25, that's so much money, that's amazing. How did they even do that? How is that possible? Like, that's great, basically on the positive side of things. On the other hand, there's going to be people who say only $50,000. Like, that's not that much money. You could do so much better. You didn't even have debt. Like, why don't you have $100,000? And overall, I think that's just life, right? People have different perspectives and no one's really wrong for their view on things. It's all up to your experiences, your value you place on money, your life experiences as well. Your financial goals, everything like that's going to change your opinion on how much money $50,000 by a certain age really is. To me, $50,000 overall, it is a lot of money. But again, there are people who've saved $100,000 by this age, and you hear those stories too. There are people who have no money saved at this age for a variety of reasons, right? People are ranging anywhere from in debt to hundreds of thousands of dollars at any age and time. At the end of the day, for me personally, I think that there's more to the story than just the number of dollars that you've saved. Again, for me, I live in a city that I love to live in. I spend about $925 per month on rent, which is definitely more than if I was living elsewhere. I buy coffees from Starbucks and coffee shops sometimes. I buy things for myself sometimes that I don't need. I probably eat out more than I would if I had a super, super strict budget, different things like that. And I've still been able to save a huge chunk of money in just 3 years from my 9-to-5 salary alone. I've been also spending a lot of time learning more about money, investing more of my money, getting into that side of things, saving up for a down payment so then I can get into real estate investing pretty soon too, hopefully in the next few years, year or so, who knows. So all of that is in perspective as well. I've been learning about money as well in that time. So for me, I'm pretty happy with the amount that I've saved so far. And on top of that, for me, you've probably seen this on our channel already, but over time, my financial goals become more and more of a priority for me and more of a focus as well. One of my key goals is that as my income continues to grow, my expenses, I want them to stay the same. So basically the amount of money that I save or invest now, the percentage of my total monthly income, that will continue to grow because my expenses will stay the same. And as much as cutting down your budget to only spending money on the things that you truly value is really important, the way to truly build your wealth and actually grow your overall financial picture is to earn more income, right? Growing your income, that's exponential. You can always earn more money, but you can only cut so much in your expenses. There's always going to be something that you need to spend. So that, with all that being said, my next financial goal kind of makes sense. It's obviously to have saved or invested up to $100,000, the next natural milestone after 50. So my aim or projection right now is that I'll have about $70,000 saved or invested by the end of this year, by the end of 2021, from my 9-to-5 income alone. And then hopefully my multiple other income streams will bring me past the $100,000 mark around that same time frame. And obviously we'll share more details about that and continue to be open about our money coming in, our money going out, and everything in between on this channel as well as the year goes on. I'd also love to hear any questions you have for me about my saving goals, my spending money, investing money, my plans for the future, anything like that. So leave me comments down below and we'll chat through them. Okay, everyone, so that's a wrap for this video. I hope you like this different style, a little more casual and chatty, sharing my journey with money, how and why I saved $50,000 by age 25. Getting closer to that birthday. So if you liked it, make sure you give us a like down below so we know. And yeah, just let us know what your thoughts were on the style of this video too. If you haven't already seen them, we have a lot of other videos on money and our budgets. So check them out next door after this one, and we'll make sure we see you over there as well as with our future videos to come. So we'll see you there. Bye.